Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is DJ the Money Coach. I'm sitting here in the middle of the Chicago highway. Look at this. Columbus Drive, the Buckingham Fountain, the skyline. It's amazing. The Prudential Building, the John Hancock Building, the Sears Tower, the Americana Congress Hotel, Columbia. Hey, you can only do this if you're free. That's right. And how do you get free? 4 dirty little words: discipline, accountability, plug into a system, go to work. 3 years to 5 years, you can be consumer debt free, 800 credit score, 6-figure passive income, and a 7-figure net worth if you're willing to do the work. And most importantly, you can keep it all. But you gotta plug in the system to be 100% you and get that pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money, peace of mind. Come join us on the Beaches of the World Club. I'm DJ the Money Coach. I'll see you in the next webinar. Get free.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy, brought to you by the 7 Spheres of Money. Thank you for joining us for another powerful conversation, with the good brothers. And before we get started with jumping into the topic, like the video, share it, and help us get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and subscribe to the 7 Spheres of Money. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this conversation. We're going to be dealing with the NFL and the NBA. What's been going on lately? We're going to touch on a few topics. So I'll toss it over to DJ. He'll go ahead and introduce it.
Oh, yeah, man. This is an exciting topic, man, because we like to do some light stuff every now and then, too, man. Talk sports, man, because that's what guys do. They talk sports. They talk stuff. And what I'm excited about is that, the NFL and the NBA, man, is dominated by people that look like us, and they really starting to change the whole paradigm. There's a paradigm shift where that before it was a negative connotation, or they thought we weren't smart enough to play certain positions in the NFL, center, quarterback, linebacker. And now the opening of the NFL season, they had 10 black starting quarterbacks. So I want to talk about our favorite teams and chop it up a little bit about the NFL, talk a little NBA, and then, take it from there. And what's going on, Tim? Tim, thanks for coming back to the table with us. And I know you like sports, so what you got for us, brother?
Hey, I'm just here to hear the conversation today. I've lost money talking about the NFL before because I had an NFL client. And needless to say, after I spoke about the NFL, I never made any NFL money anymore. But I actually nearly tripled my business after I spoke out based on my opinion, because there was people out there who felt what I was saying. So, what I'm saying? It just was what it was. So, a lot of black men don't like to have these types of conversations because they don't want to offend, they don't want to miss out on a potential job or a pat on the head. But I mean, it just is what it is, so.
Oh, man. Hey, man, I'd be interested to know what transpired, because you make a great point. And matter of fact, man, we got to jump in right on that right now. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Oh. Man.
What's going on with Kareem?
Man, I mean, he just came out and Kareem went from being an enigma to now he's being used as a tool by the NBA. I mean, what I mean? I mean, people know who Kareem, he used to be Lou Alcindor, highly intellectual guy, IQ off the charts, not well received by the NBA outside of him dominating the NBA for almost, 21 years, but he couldn't get a coaching job, couldn't get an assistant job, he just was an outcast because he was so intelligent and he was so coming with justice. And if people don't know the history, Kareem was one of the original guys that was with Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Man, who else was at that table? Well, they were fighting far rights back in the late 60s, right? So now he went from being somebody who was fighting for us to somebody that's actually being paid to tell us to do something that we shouldn't do. He came out in an article with the Rolling Stone and he basically berated my man from the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie Irving. He basically called him a dumb athlete because he didn't get vaccinated. And here's the irony of it. Here's a kid who's 29 years of age in the prime of his life and has the freedom to choose what he wants in his body. And here it is, a guy who's 74, 75 years of age, who when he was Kyrie's age was fighting against the system. Now he wants to be part of the system. And here's the bad part. Kareem, and this is not to pick on Kareem anything in particular, but Kareem, when he left the NBA, he was bankrupt. And the reason why they started doing these tours, what they do now that's normal when somebody retires and they give them shirts and cars and all that, that was done based on Kareem being broke and everybody feeling sorry for him. And that became a regular thing in the retirement world for
I didn't know
legendary
that. I didn't know that's where that came from. That's interesting. You know, there's a guy named Jason Black. He has this saying. He said, "You can't trust these old Negroes." you gotta watch them. Because for some reason when people, I've always been, I peep game. You gotta pay attention to who's being put in front of you to push a message. And you got to watch out for those Jedi mind tricks sometimes. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about Spike Lee. And, a lot of black people back in the 80s viewed Spike Lee as this super woke, black guy who was, fighting the power, for lack of better words. But when you really go back and watch some of those Spike Lee movies and look at it from an educated perspective, he was really perpetuating more stereotypes than he was dissolving. Mm-hmm. And I would say that to Spike's face if he was sitting here in front of me. And now I think the last movie I watched of his was the one about the guys who fought in Nam together. And I couldn't even. I got to the end of it and just was like, that was kind of enough for me. I was like, oh, this guy he's on the payroll.
Oh, and yeah.
So you got to be careful. People will do some interesting things for a check. And that's why you got to be really careful with who's, whenever I see a person put on a big platform and I see certain people clapping for them and saying, yeah, listen to this guy or gal, I already know that person doesn't have my best interests at heart. I already know. And when you start peeling back the layers of who they've been historically, the writing's on the wall. But see, we tend to blindly trust people because they look like us. And because we have this fake notion that, all skin folk are your kin folk. That's just not true. A lot of people that are put in front of us to direct us are essentially leading us to the slaughterhouse. Even MLK said he feared that he marched his people into a burning building. And when MLK started preaching about putting your money into black banks and investing and doing things like that, then
that's when they took him out.
Ironic that he was, assassinated a few months.
Yeah, once he gave the
few weeks
sanitation speech.
Yeah, a few weeks later. It wasn't,
it was literally like 10 days.
So typically when a tool is given to us, that tool is destroyed once it's being used. And so
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're talking about that too, if you look at Jerry Rice, and we'll get back to the quarterbacks.
You talking about the Popeyes chicken commercial, Jerry Rice?
Man, when I saw that, you know what? I was just like, man, how could this brother who worked his butt off, who was fighting the system, in the beginning, wouldn't get no love, breaking all these records, and go on the complete side. And I don't like using this word, but he straight up cooned out. Because at the end of the day, even the toughest ones who are fighting for the system in the sports realm, they want to be pat on the back, feel good about themselves. And to see him go from, and again, you got to know the history. This guy was the number one person who was talking about, hey, man, why don't black, players get endorsements? Why don't they get this? Why don't get that? And man, 30 years later, here his brother is with a football helmet on and with a fried piece of chicken, rolling around like a rotisserie. And he goes from marrying a black woman, queen, having beautiful black children, to complete, he got him a Becky. And it's sad to say that you made it. So why did you have to give in? But again, that indoctrination of the system makes him say, man, I got to be validated at some point in time.
Right.
And
No, I get that. And listen, I'll say this, I don't care who you choose to love.
Yeah.
Until you start switching up your message to berate us, right? So, there's a lot of people who have been involved in interracial relationships that have really rolled for the black community. Let's keep it real. But it's when you get involved into a relationship and then you start talking down on your people, as if to say, you could be pulling, the whole pull up your boots by your bootstrap.
Racial algebra.
That's where I have a problem, because I have mixed race family members. My family, half my family's from California. None of my cousins married black women for the most part, and that's cool. Like, I have no problem with that. Love who you love. I'm from the South. I didn't see interracial dating until I went west. Like, I remember the first time I went to California, I was like, man, you can do this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd never seen it. I'm from Texas. You have three groups of people. You have black, white, and Mexican, right?
Right.
And we were all segregated. We just had our 20-year reunion, and we talked about, even in high school, how segregated we were, where the black people went on one side to eat lunch, and then the Mexican people, I don't say Hispanic, I'm specifically saying Mexican because that's what we have here.
Right.
And other went on the other side. Like, we self-segregated, and that's not a good thing, right? So I don't have an issue with the interracial dating. I have an issue when you marry someone outside your race and then you start shitting on other black people,
right?
As if to say, you could do better. You need to. And it's like, whoa. We, pump your brakes now. We did pretty good when we were supporting you getting through whatever system you were trying to get through. Now all of a sudden, you're crapping on us to gain more light. And what I learned also, working around a lot of non-black people, is that they don't really care for the coon at all. Their thing is, if you would turn on your own people, you would turn on me. If you would do this to your own people to get a pat on your head from me, once we're done with you, that's a wrap. We're going to make sure that we destroy you, because you wouldn't even protect your own people, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. Jerry needed that check. As some would say, he needed them butter biscuits. Literally, he was on the Popeyes, commercial. But that's normal, DJ, because the question that I always tell people within the black community is, first thing I ask, what do we have to offer our own people that's going to keep them in-house to realize how important it is to build something together? And oftentimes, you have the DJs and the Tims of the world, but within the community, man, that's where it stops. And then when people do get that extra comma in their income, they don't give credit to their foundation. They give credit to the roof, if you will, right? Even though the roof will get blown off in the storm, they don't give credit to the foundation. Mm-hmm. And that's more profitable.
Oh yeah, on the front end, but
on the front end. But we forgive. Look at OJ. OJ literally has a phrase: "I'm not black, I'm OJ." OJ completely turned his back on black people his entire career, and then when he got indicted, now all of a sudden, he's brother OJ, and black people welcomed him back in. Come on, you're ours, OJ. As soon as he got acquitted, he went right back to doing what he did. And that's our thing. We gotta stop, forgiving these people through we got to stop blindly supporting people, one. And we got to stop giving people a pass when they throw us under the bus, for two. You know what I'm saying? Did you guys see that Dez Bryant interview that he recently did?
Oh, yeah. I Am Athlete.
I mean, Dez hasn't done anything in the community in Dallas. Let's just keep it a buck. I went to one event with him after he beat up his mom, and he went to as a part of the condition of what he was doing, he had to go stand in front of City Hall at a domestic violence, rally and talk about how domestic violence was bad. He's not known for doing anything here in the community. I mean, when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, he was the first person saying, "I got mouths to feed." Like, get out of here, man. He's looking for a job.
Oh, yeah.
He's saying everything that he can say so that some owner, keyword owner, will see him and say, "You know what? He's a good old boy. Let's give him a job." And I would say that if Dez was
Soften him up. Soften him up, baby.
Those are the people you gotta pay attention to, these people, and just take notes. Just take notes.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, at the end of the day, we shouldn't be putting entertainment and athletics on any pedestal in the first place. And one thing I like about is that a lot of people don't like this guy, and I didn't like this guy, but I started listening to some of the principles that he subscribed to, which is Jason Whitlock. So Jason Whitlock showed the commercial that Barkley shot back in '93. We talked about, I'm not a role model. Your parents ought to be a role model. And you're absolutely right. Guess what? If I turn on the TV and my children are following some athlete and some entertainer, shame on me.
Right.
At the end of the day. Because
I can agree with that.
Yeah. If you ain't bouncing.
Jason's like a broken clock. You know what I'm saying? He's right twice a day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I got to give it to him for standing on what he stands on. And what I'm also learning, DJ, is I can't expect for people to always think like me. People, I live by the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time we might agree, 20% we don't. I'm not the biggest fan of Jason because I feel like he's a bootstrap guy. Like, look at me, I made it, so you can too, which isn't a false statement, but you also have to understand that certain people are also put in front of us to give that bootstrap message. And there's a lot of systematic racism that keeps, if we point at every one of DJ's friends that he grew up with, and every one of Tim's friends he grew up with, and every one of Nick's friends, like, we can probably honestly say that out of all of our friends that grew up with us, we're that 1%. Or that 10%, if you will, because certain opportunities were given to us or we took advantage of certain opportunities, but a lot of people need a little bit more help along the way. And so you got to be patient with people along with their progress. And so I'm just not a bootstrap guy. I understand that we do have opportunities, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. And working in corporate America, I saw it. I saw not being able to get promotions because ambiguous language would be used, like, oh, a lot of people find you intimidating. Well, can we put that on paper and articulate what that is? I come to work, I do my job. I'm
right.
Not up in a bunch of people's face trying to go have beers afterwards. Isn't that what you had on the?
They're assertive and you aggressive.
So what can you tangibly describe what that means? Because if I was the guy who's smiling and up in people's face all day, then now I'm the creep, right? And I saw it even from a management standpoint, where senior managers would try to get me to paper trail people out of the company simply because they didn't like them because they were strong black men. It just, you know what I'm saying? So,
that's what they do at the end of the day when you don't own yourself. But like I said, from a principle standpoint, that particular principle may resonate because, again, you don't want your children to be following athletes just because they can bounce a basketball, they can throw a football, they can swing a golf club. That should be your job as the parent, first and foremost. Right. But another thing is looking at the paradigm shift. So you open up the NFL and you got 10 black quarterbacks, and you have a contradiction in two quarterbacks that are going to lead the future of the NFL. You have, Lamar Jackson, and then you have Patrick Mahomes. And the reality is, he
doesn't identify as a black man.
Right. He doesn't.
Right.
Absolutely not. But the reality is, everybody has their upcomings.
Right.
here's the thing. He's a passing in the pocket traditional quarterback that got a little good footwork, and he can do some magical things that other people can't do. However, Lamar Jackson is probably 2.3.0 of Mike Vick, and a lot more electrifying, and a lot more elusive.
Yeah.
And he's not changing how he plays the game, and that's going to be where he plays. And the thing is, they think that that's not sustainable, but I actually think it is, because I've been following him since he was at Louisville, and seeing when you have that once in a lifetime athlete that you can do stuff that other people can't do, and the fact that the humility that the kid has, and the fact that he allowed his mom to manage him, because like, hey, why I got to give you a percentage of a already negotiated contract based on your order that you get drafted? There's no need to have an agent. So if you look at it now, the NFL is starting to realize that this combo quarterback, we need to get some white boys that have them similar skills, and that's why the kid in Buffalo, they praise him. You know, what's the kid in Buffalo's name? Can't remember his name right now, but he's in the MVP conversation.
Well, that's the game. The NFL is tradition. They have a history of never comparing, their white quarterbacks to one another, but comparing the black quarterbacks to one another.
Yeah.
To create this false competition. A Peyton Manning and a Tom Brady and a Drew Brees can have their own separate accolades and be their own great quarterback, but Russell Wilson and I'm just using him as an example, or Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick or whomever, they have to jock for who's the best. Same thing in basketball. They have to compete against each other. Jordan, but you never hear people compare anyone to Bird. You'll hear it in a Dirk argument. Dirk is becoming a Bird, right? But if you're a black athlete, you have to be Jordan or nothing else, right? So yeah, I mean that's the game evolving. And I don't know, DJ. I don't know how that's going to look 10 years from now, because I understand how the machine works. The machine is going to always find, the representation that they need, and typically it's somebody who's not going to buck the system and someone who's going to play the game. No pun intended.
That's definitely that's not going to change, but the prototype is changing, evolving, that they're purposely pursuing that type of quarterback structure for the white quarterback to make that the mold. Because if you look at Kyler Murray, another one, incredible athlete, that again, he's got another gear that most people don't have. And if you look at the face of the league, it's already 80%, and just like the NBA is like 76%. But you're going to start seeing them going after the kid, another biracial kid over at Oklahoma, Ratner. A lot of them are starting to go to that type of mode of training, not just doing the 7-day, 7-on-7 camps, but they're finding the agility and finding the RPOs and trying to mold them up to that model where a kid like Jalen Hurts, which is a phenomenal kid, if he looked like somebody else, they'd be treating him like, Wentz, but they're not.
Well, let's talk about that. Because you're talking about the college to the pro aspect, right? So forever as a black quarterback, you had to be 6'3" or above, and extremely athletic. They gave the Doug Flutys and the Drew Breeses and the shorter white quarterbacks a pass because they had intelligence or whatever it was.
Right.
What's that guy? The Ryan Fitzpatrick's. He's a little short guy, but he's intelligent, right? But I often think about Florida, and I think about
Charlie
Leak.
Ward.
No. Chris Leak and Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people forget about Chris Leak. Chris Leak was about the size of Russell Wilson.
Chris Leak was a beast.
Had an arm like a rocket. And this is why I'm not a fan of Urban Meyer until this day. I'm just not a fan of him. But I would watch Urban Meyer put Chris Leak out there. Chris would drive the ball. I'm talking about he would drive it from the 25-yard line.
And then give it to
down
Tebow.
To the 1-yard line. He would take him out of the game and put Tim Tebow in.
Yep.
And Tim Tebow would run in. And he did it all the time, and no one ever called it out. It's like, well, what is he doing? Like, why is it that this black quarterback can't get? He's more accurate than Tebow. Just a better quarterback. And then you saw how that, like, Tebow became like the next best thing, right? Got into the league. He was horrible in the league. Won that one playoff game in Denver, and then he got destroyed the next week. But think about how long ago that was, and think about today.
Well, yeah, he just got another opportunity to try to be a tight end.
Do you think that a black quarterback would have gotten that many opportunities to succeed in the NFL?
Oh, absolutely not.
But that's the game, and I think that as a consumer, black people, we don't look at it that way. We look at the NFL just like we look at music, just like we look at any other thing. That's a ticket out of the hood. Where really the ticket out of the hood is up here. We do a thing here in Dallas we've done in the past called for our mentoring program, 20 ways to make $1 million in sports without playing the game. And we bring boys in and we teach them different aspects of making money in sports. When you walk into that stadium or on that field house or into that place, there's so many $1 million entities or businesses that are functioning within
services, big time
services. The average athlete has depending on the sport, a 3.5 to 5 year life expectancy within their field. So Did
we lose Tim?
He's frozen.
Froze.
Yeah.
If you can hear us, Tim, I think you froze. You can come back and come back in. Tell you about why would we do this? Let's go to a break. Real quick. Yeah. Well, let's see if he coming back in.
He plays sports their entire year, and
he probably doesn't. Hit him in the chat. Tell him that his video is.
Oh wait a minute, he's coming in.
Okay.
Oh, he was trying to come in. No, he's coming in another device. All right, here we go.
Hey man, I guess we were getting too heavy,
Speaking that truth to power, and they had to
start messing with the.
They had to break the connection.
Looks like it's happening again.
Right. So let's hit them in the chat. Let's take a quick break and come back, and let Tim get that fixed so we can finish his message, because it needs to be heard. That message is very important. So we'll be right back. You're watching Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy, and we're talking about sports tonight, the NFL and the NBA. And we're talking about the politics of money as well. We'll be right back at these messages. Hi, I'm DJ the Money Coach. Don't touch that dial. You want to become financially independent? You want to have consumer debt freedom? You want to have passive income, learn how to build a business, acquire real estate, and achieve the lifestyle you deserve in 2021? Well, hit that link below right now. We've worked with over 20,000 people in the past 2 decades, helping them become consumer debt free, increase their credit scores by 30 to 60 points in 30 days or less, and help them acquire businesses through real estate, taxes, and a network of experts just like me. So you'll get a complete 3-hour, 18-module course called Family Finance 101 that'll teach you A to Z how to become consumer debt free, credit worthy, and it puts you in position to become a certified entrepreneur. We'll also give you a complimentary consultation with me that's a $500 value. Why would you want to do that? Because I have already achieved that, and I can help you achieve your American dream in 2021. Hit the link below, get the free webinar and the complimentary consultation, and I'll see you soon and wish you a pom-pom lifestyle that's plenty of money and peace of mind. Come join us. All right, welcome back to Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. Tonight we're talking about sports from a different perspective as a black man in the community. You know, we're talking about the NFL, and we're going to talk a little bit about the NBA as well, and the paradigm shift, but also the importance of, you know, the economic structure in this model of professional sports, which never is going to change because we don't own anything, you know. So we're just like Dick Roden said, we're $40 million slaves, but now we're actually $40 billion slaves. You know, let's just keep it real. He wrote that book back in 1998, and it was revolutionary and blew the lid off a lot of people in their mindset and their construct. But the reality is nothing's changed. It's just the money has gotten bigger and the message has gotten worse across the board from a social economic standpoint. Yep, players are now making $100 million, $500 million, but they have less power than they ever had. And the worst thing is they're leading a lot of other kids down a track of full indentured servitude and bringing messages that are not really positive in our community, where, as we were talking before, they go from fighting the system to want to get validated by the system. And now everybody is getting on that gravy train. But as Tim was talking about, if you really want to be in the business sports world of making money, there's 20, 30 different ways to actually make money in the business world. One of our favorite sports is baseball. And even though we didn't put that on the docket, but from a scientific sabermetrics standpoint and stats, man, you can make a ton of money outside of the diamond in the suite of baseball, stadiums, service contracts, vendor contracts, minority certified, you know, contract deals, real estate deals that are brokered, that if you only knew it's actually 100% success going that route than it is going the 1 in 3 million to make it in any one of these 4 professional sports. And that even includes hockey, because you're starting to see a lot more blacks getting involved in hockey. And here's the irony of it. Hockey was created by a black man in Nova Scotia. Look it up. Facts. So now we got our man Tim back locked in, and the powers that be couldn't eliminate him from getting that message out. So tie back in, man. Tell us about them 20 ways to make money in sports without even playing sports, my friend.
Yeah, so we talk about that. We do a seminar, and a lot of kids just had no clue that, you know, you could make the kind of money that the groundskeepers make, that the security makes, that the concessions make, that the uniform creators make, that, you know, I mean, there's just so many different things the sports agents make, you know, being a coach, you know, just being involved in the everyday game itself. An analytical guy, a person that blogs about sports. There's people that are sports bloggers, not even affiliated with the Associated Press, that make millions of dollars. Like, I mean, hosting events yourself, you know, there's so many things you can do within sports, whether it's tournaments, so many things you can do. But too often our kids are only taught to play. Man. And we have to have more conversation in sports about ownership.
Now think about this. Let me interject right here. Our kids are taught to play, but in the past 5 years, there's been white counterparts that were lawyers and business people that became actual personalities on ESPN. And matter of fact, one's right in your backyard, last name Kane. That's an attorney from Dallas that became a personality. The kid who does the fantasy football. He's not a kid, but he took this fantasy football, which nobody had interest in 20 years ago, and that's what everybody does because it leads into gambling. And they're always able to figure out a way to make money when they can't play the sport, but they still maximize the sport itself from a financial aspect and create a legacy in of itself. So why aren't we finding more Tim Jacksons, more Nick Westbrooks, you know, and teaching our kids that? And why aren't we supporting that? I know why we're not, because it ain't sexy, number one. And it's boring, but it has long-term success because, like you said, 2.7 years in the NFL. In the NBA, it's like 5.4 years. In the MLB, it's like 7 years that you will have an average career nowadays. but you think you see all this money up on the front end. Like Kyler Murray had a unique situation where he could be the number 1 draft pick in the NFL, and he could be the number 2 draft in the MLB, and he chose the front money to get all the money up top. But he could have made $500 million in the MLB, but he's gonna make $500 million in deals he make. And now bring that down to the college level with the NIL, the name, licensing that college players get now. That is a small percentage of them. They're gonna make these millions of dollars. But again, what you say, Tim, all the people that are repping them, they're making a living eating off the carcass, and we're getting nothing.
But we have to ask ourselves why that is, right? Like, too often we have the mentality that we have to see it to believe it, whereas others have the mentality of, once I believe it, I can see it. And that's a paradigm shift. And what happens too often is that in our communities, betting on yourself could bankrupt you and put you in a position where people feel like they can't overcome. But my thing is, if you're already at the bottom, man, you can't go anywhere but up. It's generational, DJ. Like, we just within the last 20, 25 years start getting these executive jobs within these major, I would say 30 years. I guess, Bill Russell was a coach, right? So that was 30 years ago. But look how many championships Bill Russell had to win in order. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to prove yourself beyond a shadow of a doubt. And then they still, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, now you got people like Ice Cube that starts his own league. Like, why don't we support stuff like that as much? Because it's not co-signed by the dominant society, right? But they do 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics now. Like, literally, that came from an idea of Ice Cube in the league.
And the 3-on-3 goes back 40 years, man. We played 3-on-3 in the parks and tournaments. Ain't nothing. 3-on-3 ain't nothing new about 3-on-3.
Nothing new about it.
Nothing new about it.
It becomes a situation, where one of my mentors would always say, the white man's ice is colder. And if you say that out loud, then you're pegged as somebody who's anti something. Every other group can have pride about themselves. But when Black people start having pride about themselves and saying we should have control, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, because it's literally a threat. If you were able to change all those minds overnight, man, we'd rule everything economically, because guess what? Most of their income is derived off of our backs. That's just a fact. That's not victimism. That ain't, I'm complaining. But if you look at most major economies, Black people are the hosts that people live off of in almost every industry, because we have been taught to be consumers. So we go and consume the technology. We consume the culture, and then people replicate it, package it, and sell it back to us instead of us buying it ourselves. But will that ever change, Tim? I don't know. Am I going to be a martyr? No, I'm not.
No, I ain't going to be no martyr. You know what's so funny is that, will it ever change? I don't think so. Personally,
and it's sad to say that.
I see certain groups of people that are really getting traction on working, doing things on their own. And what I've learned, DJ, is not to try to attempt to change the mindset or the opinion of the masses, but rather find 2 or 3 people that think like me and build with them. Because in society, we jump on what's popular, not what's profitable first, right? And so they'll look at, if I go start a business, people call me crazy until it pops off, and then when it pops off, it's like, yeah, that's my boy Tim. It's like, you never supported me, right? So then you have to learn. I'm learning now, just it is what it is. You call out what you need to call out, but I take a lot of things with a grain of salt, because I understand that as long as people want to go out there and do foolish stuff, that's just going to create more opportunities for me. I can teach you all day long, but if you don't want it, you just don't want it. Like, you look at our music, the music that's promoted to Black people, all it talks about is, sex, drugs, killing each other, right? And don't get me wrong, I love a good rap song, for entertainment. Let's keep it 100.
But you know the difference, though.
But I know the difference. But where I'm going with that is those are things that we're perfectly fine with attaching ourselves to. But and my thing is, well, if that's what you want to do, and that's all you want to do, have at it. Because what's going to happen is when the opportunity comes, you're going to be so busy out there trying to smash something and trying to, get high. And I'm going to be out here snatching up these opportunities. But see, on the back end, you can't get mad at me if I tax you now because you didn't put the work in. You see what I'm saying? You can't get mad. If you're choosing to follow the carrot that's being dangled in front of you, then you can't be mad at me when I take advantage of the opportunity and charge you for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't owe you anything because I offered you an opportunity. Again, that's not a bootstrap message. That's just saying I'm coming to the realization that I'm not going to spend my entire life trying to convince people to do better for themselves, when the opportunity is there. Case in point. A lot of times people just don't believe it if a white person doesn't say it's true. Like the actor A.J. Johnson passed away. I read it on TMZ. I saw an alert come up on TMZ. And so I posted about it. And people, this can't be true. This can't be true. And my friend said, this can't be true. Is this true? So then I posted the link for the TMZ article. I said, here, a white person is saying it now. Do you believe me? And everyone kind of laughed at the comment, but this person didn't believe me until I posted that. That's ingrained, DJ. We might not ever get that out of us in this lifetime. And I just don't focus on like people like that. You just gotta let some people go.
Well, that just goes to a point, and then taking it to, like you said, man, you got great things you're doing with William. And
that's my focus.
That you showing William the aspects of how business and how real manhood is. It's like my father said, hey man, the only person you can save is the people underneath your roof. You save them, and you can change the world for your people, one family member at a time. And again, man, you ain't never going to be able to stop a winner from winning, and you ain't never going to stop a loser from quitting. So at the end of the day, if we invest our time that's most precious to us in our own seeds, those seeds will actually grow up and bring more fruit on the tree. And in the realm of doing that, Tim, they will impart and impact some other people outside of our sphere of influence because they see great examples. And that's the most exciting thing, because you're teaching your son about business, and now he's going to take that business acumen, and because if he does love sports, he's going to make money off of it on all aspects, and then he's going to own the team versus playing for the team. And this is why I used to always tell my sons, it's funny, I said, there's no law that tells the NBA or the NFL that the owner can't play. Now, he may not got the talent to do it, but it's his team, and he can play. That's just the reality. So if you look at Isaiah Thomas, for instance, he got duped. He used to own the CBA. And he gave up his ownership so that he could be a coach. But they flipped the script. Here's where they get tricky, because in Minnesota, the guy who passed away and got his son was supposed to be saying he became an owner. I forgot what the guy's name is in Minnesota. This is in the past 5 years. Saunders. I think his name is Saunders. So he got percentage of ownership with the Minnesota Timberwolves and was a coach at the same time. But on the books, that was supposed to be not available to actually have that, being executed. But he did. Flip Saunders. That's his name. Now, how did Isaiah get duped? That he so badly wanted to be a coach of the Indiana Pacers that he sold the CBA, which is now the G League, that is very profitable. And people say Isaiah ran the CBA into the ground. But he didn't. He actually did pretty good with it. But again, his desire to get the pat on the back gave him the ability to be duped out of ownership, just like Jordan got duped by the owner of the Washington Bullets. And he said, oh, Jordan, you want to control and teach the team how to run? Go down there and get on the bench. And in order to do that, you got to give up your ownership. And you had already 2,000x my franchise evaluation. So you go right. So he played to his ego and he gave up the bag, which we talk about. But fortunately for him, he was able to get a piece of the Charlotte Hornets. But that's sad. And even if you go back to the Negro Leagues, is what I always explain to people. Give you a quick history lesson. You're a baseball guy. The Negro Leagues were highly profitable. And this is the only professional organization in any sport that got taken over by another group of owners that they didn't get ownership in the new enterprise. Check it out. The NFL used to be the NFL and the AFL, run by the Hunts. And the Hunts started imposing on the NFL, and they did what? They merged together, and they kept ownership. Same thing in soccer. But when it came to the Negro Leagues, we took all of our beautiful, powerful brothers that own these amazing teams across the country. And so
that was an experiment too, DJ.
But that was a bad experiment because in what world do you give up 100% ownership to be an employee? I don't care if you pay me $100 million.
No. What I'm saying is MLB knew they were competing, who they were competing with, and so what they did was they integrated. So they picked the best player in a Jackie Robinson, and they bring him into their league, and they understood that putting Jackie Robinson in the dugout will put black people in the.
But they should have got a team in the MLB though with the integration. That's my point.
Was that?
They should have got a team in the MLB.
But that wasn't the plan. The plan was to get the black dollars into their seats.
I understand, but from you and me though, you had a profitable business, and you want to expand your network and your bandwidth. You want to get more market share, right? As a successful black businessman. Oh, way I do that is get me some players over here into the MLB, and we'll get more dollars and more market share. But they
weren't going to do business with black people.
But then, see, that's the point, though. Then you should have been known that, hey, I'm not going over there to fold my 20-something Negro League team.
In theory, but that ain't. No, listen to me, DJ. I agree with you, but I'm saying it goes back to the mentality of the white man's ice is colder. You know what I'm saying? They're pulling the best people from the Negro Leagues on purpose to erode the Negro Leagues because now.
But the owners had to give up ownership in order.
They gotta choose a game. You gotta come to the Major League game and see Jackie Robinson, who's been integrated because black people want to be a part of this society, or you're gonna go over to the Negro League, and that was a game. That was
the biggest heist in the history of sports.
And then after they start poaching all of the best players from the Negro League, then there's a bad deal that takes place, and they erode it. And now, then the second step to that is now we're not going to even focus on black players. We're going to take the game to the Caribbeans and focus on non or foreign-born black people who aren't associated with this civil rights movement, who are not going to use this platform to protest.
They're not going to give us any headaches.
And that's what you're seeing.
And we're going to hold their visa for them to play for this money.
And that's what you're seeing in every sport.
Exactly. That's what you're going to see in the NBA because it's already here. I tell people this, I said, all you looking at, fast forward the NBA, and it's going to be yellow, white, and Latino even in the NBA because where they're going with the model. That's the reality of it. And the NFL, look at the NFL. You have now an ownership of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's Asian Indian. You now have on the college level, you have Dominican and Cuban head coaches coaching at the college level at University of Miami and Oregon. And only way for that to happen, there's a saying, only way for evil to persist is for good men and women to do nothing. So we had two opportunities.
The fear of catastrophic loss.
Yeah, but here's
the
thing. We had two unique situations that arose in the past 5 years. When the pandemic came in, we had an opportunity, and Kyrie Irving again said, hey, man, let's not play any games.
You know, black folks ain't gonna not play in the game.
We know, but however, we know this. But at the same time, they had an opportunity to level the playing field, once in a lifetime opportunity to get on the right page and eliminate all of the leverage that they had. But they didn't do it. They did it in NFL as well. They had an opportunity to do the same thing. They didn't do it. You remember in the strike short. I mean, you're 37, 38.
Mm-hmm.
So when they had the scrubs that were replacing the NFL players back in the mid 90s, and they actually made a movie called The Replacement Players that Keanu Reeves played, which actually was a black man that actually went across the strike line to play in the strike shortened season, which opened up the door for the USFL. But see, a lot of people don't do they research. And so the economics.
Research, what's research? What's that?
So when you talk about following the money and the economic standpoint, we got so much power that we don't utilize now, because nobody would imagine somebody getting a $500 million contract. Nobody would imagine a 15 player on the NBA making $80 million a year. I mean, I couldn't see it. Maybe you were more could see it the future than I could.
I saw it coming. So my mother was in her job. She was, really big in her union. And so, they fought for more salaries and stuff like that. So I eventually, when I started seeing kids coming out of high school in basketball, and I started seeing stuff, I knew eventually in every business, you're going to eventually have a balloon that's going to burst. And so I look at it's hard to say, but I saw what's happening. And then, because baseball, there's always been big contracts in baseball. We just, right.
Best contract you can get, baby.
I remember the A-Rod contract. Remember the first contract he got with the Rangers?
$250 million for the Texas Rangers, your home team.
You remember that? How much was it again?
$250 million, and that was 15 years ago.
That was 20 years ago.
Was it 20 years ago?
Well, that was 2001.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yep,
20 years ago. Yeah. That was a while back. And then he went to the
Yankees.
And they had to pick up that, and he got more.
And he got $275 million. And when he got caught with the steroids, they still had to pay him more money.
They still had to give it to him.
And if that happened in the NBA, which their guaranteed contracts, their moral clause would have muted them contracts. Yeah. But in
baseball, was 2000. I remember that.
Yeah, 2000.
I remember thinking myself, like, they're paying, and he was MVP. Yep. A-Rod, right?
And you know what? You talked about your mom with the unions. MLB got the strongest union on the planet.
Man, guaranteed contracts. They have the longest.
Look at the Bobby Bonilla clause. He gets $1 million every year from his deferred comp on Bobby Bonilla Day. Baseball.
For the rest of his life, right?
For the rest of his life. Yes, sir. So that's why, Tim, I talk about baseball, and I know you love baseball, my kids, because money, science is baseball. Hand-eye coordination, the ability to play chess, which makes it the greatest game ever. Might not be the most exciting to most people, but when you get inside and start studying, every move, every play has got 10, 12 different moves to make one play, because you're playing with the end in mind, and you're playing real life in real day situation that it's amazing. And then the science behind it, geometry, physics. You know what I'm saying? So you can teach a young kid a lot. And that's another reason why they just quietly pushed the black.
Why don't you think that baseball is pushed on black kids?
Well, here's the funny thing is, I played baseball. My kids played it. It's a difficult sport, like you said. 3 out of 10 times you're a superstar. It's a hard sport, man. And
it's expensive too.
Oh, it's beyond expensive. I mean,
collect baseball will bankrupt you.
Man, dude. Baseball will run you, man, $5,000-$10,000 a year, and I'm talking about at the high school and 10 to 17 age per year.
That's you're being conservative.
Well, that's from my perspective. Maybe I got a little, help because I'm a coach and everything. So
but I'm just it's not cheap. Whereas
No, not
They
at all.
make other sports cheap for a reason. It's kind of like golf. Golf is an expensive sport.
Oh,
hockey is extremely expensive.
Extremely, man.
My brother plays semi-pro hockey and played. I think he made it to one of the U.S. national teams. Right? Extremely expensive sport. Right?
They're not middle class sports like they used to be.
No, they're not.
They purposely specialized them because, again, if baseball was expensive as it is today, when I was coming up, I wouldn't have been able to play any baseball.
Yeah.
I never played on a travel team, a select team. We didn't have that kind of money.
And that's who gets the exposure.
Exactly.
I never played on a travel or select team. I always played YMCA or school ball, right?
Yep.
And I have a friend whose son played select baseball up until he got to high school, and he was so good at football that the coaches made him pick a sport. You know what I'm saying? Because once you get to that level, you got to choose, right?
So they say.
That's
what they tried to do to Russell Wilson. Reason why Russell Wilson left NC State is because he was playing baseball, got drafted by the Yankees, and he graduated, got his master's, went to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin said, "Hey, Russ, you can do both, baby, because we need a quarterback like you." You see what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Well, man, we can talk about this stuff for days in. I know you got stuff to do with William, man. Let's wrap it up and give our commentary. We got to do a part 2 to this because baseball is just a true reflection of real life.
It is.
And it's a meritocracy with access that a lot of people don't get.
And also baseball is a game of winning at failure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well said.
Like, the highest paid person fails 3 out of 10 times. Right? I mean, so it's just like, you're gonna lose 7 out of 10 times whenever you can step up to that plate. You're gonna strike out, you're gonna be out. Like, that's failure. You're winning at failure. But if you can master that and get your average to just 0.300, just that's it. And people don't realize that's hard. Somebody batting 250 can still bring in 10 million, 15 million a year.
It's funny you say that. Marcus Seaman of the Toronto Blue Jays just hit his 44th home run, most home runs by any second baseman, and his batting average is like 266.
And that's a good batting average.
Right.
That means that he fails nearly 8 times.
And he makes $18 million a year.
Guaranteed.
And he's about to, next year, he's going to sign a $100 million contract just because of the season he had.
And will play until he's 40.
Easy.
Look at Pujols.
Man, he's been long in the tooth forever. But he collected.
We gotta have this conversation. I always enjoy these conversations because I feel like one is it's really taboo for Black men to have these conversations without feeling like they're gonna get canceled or they're gonna, be shunned or have their finger wagged at them. And it's just like, I mean, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, DJ. If I sit back and don't say anything, then I have to watch everyone suffer and then feel sorry for myself. If I say something, I'll potentially be alienated. But my thing is, I'm already being alienated because I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut and not say anything anyway. So I'd rather fall on the damn if I do side. I'm not gonna agree with people all the time. It just is what it is. But I think that we need to continue to have these conversations so people can understand that we have a voice too, and that's just what it is, But Black men are so afraid to talk like this because they understand historically they destroy us when we don't get in line. But the playing fields are getting level right now, and it can only be leveled economically. And when you put yourself, when you start living that pom lifestyle, my man. It's a different approach. I'll stop here. Today I went and looked at a house that's an open house, near me. We've been watching this house get renovated. We knew the previous owners and they finally had an open house. And so we walk in and, me, my wife and William's just getting out of school. He's got his uniform on. Shirt's a little dirty because that's what 11-year-olds do.
That's what we do.
And so the agent, who didn't speak to us at all when we walked in, didn't even make eye contact with us. He turned to William after a second and said, "Hey, how was the fight today?" And I didn't hear it. I heard him say something, but my wife said, "Excuse me, what did you say?"
You got to be kidding.
How was the fight? And I turned to him. I said, why would you ask him that? Well, because his shirt was dirty. Little boys. I said, my son is a scholar. He's not a fighter. 1, 2, he goes to a really good school and does really well. I said, and 3, man, you're out of line, for coming at him, even asking him that, because his parents are right here. We own property on this street. You're just over here selling property. You know what I'm saying? So, and naturally he starts backtracking. No, I didn't mean anything by it. But my thing is, why would you even have the audacity or the gall to say that to a child? If you would say that to a child with his parents sitting right there, just imagine what he would say to him if you weren't there.
Exactly.
And as Black, that's why I speak the way I speak, because I'll be damned if I allow someone else to create a narrative about me and my child and other men like me. And Black men have to step up and be okay with someone disagreeing with you sometimes, but standing firm on what you believe. You understand what I'm saying? And even William, in that moment, when the guy asked the question, William looked like, why would you ask me that? Because he's been taught the type of man that he needs to be, and he has parents that he knows is going to check that shit on the spot, with anyone. And we have to protect our children, and we have to be willing to check certain things on the spot when we see it, to start setting a new precedent.
As they say, you got to have protection against foreign and domestic enemies. You know what I'm saying? The foreign was what you were talking about, but the domestic is the ones look like us.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget them.
And people out there who are watching this who are not Black, you don't have to try to be cool or you don't have to try to code switch and talk down or be a certain kind of way. Assume that we're a certain type of people just to bond.
Hey, let's table that for another conversation.
Okay, I can talk for 3 hours about that.
Oh man, dude.
DJ, I will go train places, and I will be with a group of white guys, and we will walk in the building, and the people greeting us will greet the white people. Hey, how you doing, sir? Hello,
What's
sir.
What's up, bro?
They would get to me. Hey, my man, my brother. And why are you doing that?
Oh man,
that's another conversation for another day.
Right. Oh.
Slap me some skin within.
Man, you're going to get us fired, but we can't get fired. But with that said, Tim, where can we reach you at? What you got up and coming? And we're going to let you get back to that Austin William.
Of course, on Instagram and Twitter, follow me at Tim Jackson Now. Got the documentary that we're working on right now, How to Kill a Black Man. We dropped the cover art for that a couple of weeks ago at my event. You can visit me, www.timjacksonnow.com. But mainly on social media is where I'm at, putting out more content. Get the book Real Dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and dope game. It's on Amazon. Look, get at me. I'm easy to find. I ain't hiding from nobody.
Hiding in plain sight is what they say.
Hiding in plain sight.
Well, that tight outfit you had on at your event, it was tight, brother. It was tight. I loved it.
Hey,
everything,
thank you, brother.
Color coordination was tight. I saw when you putting on Instagram, I'm gonna have to wear something, fly at this time. And you, man, dude, you wore it well. So,
hey, man, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you perform good. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't that what prime time says?
Hey, man.
Big time. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching, Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. And we ain't going to get out here without having Nick say something. I mean, you can't go the whole show without saying something. Give us your 2 cents, and then we're going to wrap up out here and let our man Tim do it. We're going to see y'all next week. Same time, same back channel, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And, hey, if you want a topic that you don't feel comfortable talking about, drop a comment in the comment section, and we will talk about it. Because here's the thing. We're free. And free ain't free, but we don't die. We multiply, baby. And we don't live on our knees on this planet. And if you take offense to that, hey, that's your problem, because everybody does it in their community, and we do it too. Nick, what you got? Take us home, baby. Take us home.
All right. Yeah. I took more of a back seat on this one because I haven't, I used to really be big on sports, as a kid growing up and through my teenage years, and then I never, well, I won't say I never lost interest in participating in sports, but as far as following sports, the teams and the players and all of that, I kind of fell off and took interest in other things, after high school, going into college. But of course, I keep my ear to the streets about what's going on as sports relates to these social issues and business now, of course. And it's definitely going from a $1 million business and $1 million slaves to $1 billion slaves, and the stakes are getting even higher now. It's we're seeing the marriage in the commodification of sports and social activism. So back in the time that DJ, you were talking about in the 60s, it wasn't popular then. You were ostracized for for activism, but now it's trendy. Now it's commodified. You can that
it's coming from the corporate narrative, not really from the community narrative. That's exactly what people got to step up on. These cats are getting paid to say what they say. And back in the 60s, those cats were giving up all their livelihood for the people.
Yep. Tommy Smith had to give the medals back, and the brothers in the '68 Olympics, they had to give those medals back. But now you can get yourself a job, get yourself a corporate job, and get yourself some corporate endorsements for taking the knee or putting on the T-shirt, or raising the fist, So it's very interesting times we're living in, and we need to show some discernment, and this show's about leadership. We talked about leadership a few weeks ago, so we need to exercise that real Black men's leadership in our household to make that discernment between what's real and what's not real, and remember not to put these athletes and entertainers on these pedestals, and remember that we're our first heroes and leaders first, in our own households, and not these people that we watch on TV performing, singing songs, throwing balls, jumping high and fast. If they use that platform and their influence to do that, and they have the right intentions, so be it. But we don't rely on these individuals or look for these individuals to lead us. We got to be our own leaders. At the end of the day.
Man, that's real. That's real talk. So hey, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you coming and checking out. Bet on Black, the men, the family, the legacy. And what I'm gonna leave you with this is that business is the number one sport. It's a full contact sport. And the reality is, if you're not playing business, you ain't playing ball. Because that's what bosses do. And you'll get that on the way home. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, share, like, and get with us. And at the end of the day, we leave the show like we leave all the time. We wish everybody a pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind. And we really want you to come join us on the beaches of the World Club. And your beach may not be water or sand, but it's where you find your personal freedom and your tranquility to be a real Black man. I'm DJ the Money Coach on behalf of Tim Jackson and Nick Westbrooks. We'll see you next time.
Hi, so this is a testimonial for DJ the Money Coach. First of all, I got one of the best packages that you had, so that was A1. I love the team. They have really come through. You were amazing as a coach. Every week you showed up on time. Every single week. And trust me, I've been in a lot of courses, a lot of classes, spent a lot of money. And unfortunately, some people don't do what they say that they're going to do as a coach.
Salutations to all. My name is Alhamdulillah Ali. I'm 37 years old. I've worked in the public service sector in the DMV, also known as DC, Maryland, and Virginia, for about 14 years. And I'm just here to give my commentary about the 7 Spheres of Money program. It's amazing. It's awesome. DJ has a logical, practical, and objective approach to personal and business economics. This is what you need. If you are serious about having that generational wealth that's beyond the hashtag, I encourage you to get involved so that you also can have the pom-pom lifestyle.
And I want to say we would not be able to do this without the personal assistance of DJ. He has truly provided us financial help as well as coaching so that we can thrive ourselves as an institution. DJ has always, since the day I met him many years ago when I first started educating his oldest son, who's now a sophomore in college, DJ has always provided information, knowledge, and support to Know Thyself Academy so that we can grow and expand and continue to do what we do.
DJ has experience with private investing. He has experience with working with small businesses, mid-sized, large businesses, startups as well. Really passionate about money, passionate about generation wealth, passionate about estate planning, willing to work with the community to see them enhance their quality of life. He's done over thousands of educational workshops. He's very passionate about seeing people having a chance to win at life and leaving something, a legacy behind for their family. I trust this guy because I've seen him in person. I've seen him work. I've seen the results and watched him in action. So if it's about money, it's about growing your business, it's about having an impact on the community, DJ's your guy.
As a Black woman founder of a global tech startup, I personally recommend DJ the Money Coach because he met me where I was. He gave me a chance to show them what I could do. You can trust DJ because he has an incredible, ever-expanding network, an impressive background in finances, and the expertise in navigating how to raise capital. Take advantage of the 7 Spheres money management system, and I guarantee you an unmatched, life-changing experience. Or as DJ would say, you can start living your pom-pom lifestyle.
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to my guy, DJ. Met him at a real estate networking event in Houston, Texas. From there, we kind of just saw where the synergy was, and he's been helping me along to pitch and to meet new people, to talk about current investment that I have in a 200-unit development deal that me and my team are working on, as well as future endeavors. He's mentored me from the business standpoint, real estate, accounting, taxes, anything you can think of. This guy, rubs his hands or knows somebody or knows of it or has done it before. So just a wealth of knowledge has introduced me to some of the strongest connections that I've made to date in the real estate world. And just wanted to say thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
I'm making this video in reference to working with DJ, the Money Coach, working with him to help my business grow in this 2021 year, get some things together in reference to tax planning, with his CPA, business coaching, and a financial strategy, doing a 1, 3, and 5-year plan in this 2021, helping me and my business reach higher heights.
I want to give a shout out to DJ the Money Coach and his team for giving me an opportunity for financial freedom. But more importantly, sovereignty. You want sovereignty? Join the money team.
Stop wishing better, start doing better and move forward with somebody that has not only the knowledge, the skills, the talent, and the team to help you go where you want to go. I'll get more than my money's worth. If I could spend a few grand, several grand on a piece of luggage, I could spend a little bit to get a lot of it in the long run. So if you're thinking about doing better, stop thinking, start doing, and definitely get down with the pom-pom lifestyle.